administration with concentrations in public accounting and finance. And my honors presentation is called The Accounting Pipeline Problem, Effectiveness in Attracting, Recruiting, and Retaining Essential Accounting Professionals. So before I get started here, I just wanted to take the time to thank Dr. Garman for all of her knowledge, assistance, and patience with me. And then all of my friends, family, and my professors for all their support and encouragement. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the definition of the accounting pipeline problem. So it's a broad definition for the lack of individuals entering and staying in the accounting profession. And there are a lot of different causes of the accounting pipeline problem, but we will get into those in just a little bit. But there are also some changes within the accounting because of the accounting pipeline problem. And the most notable one has been the incorporation of technology like artificial intelligence and automation, which is making the use of higher level knowledge earlier in an accountant's career. And then the accounting pipeline problem has also influenced changes within the pipeline to try to get it to be fixed sooner than intended. So there's different state and national programs that are being implemented, as well as adjustments to the CPA exam in January of 2024. So through my literature research, I concluded that there were 6 main causes of the accounting pipeline problem, with the first one being the growing needs of firms. So as clients are getting larger, they're needing more accounting services, which is putting a lot of pressure on those accounting firms to provide those accountants, but there's just not enough to complete all the work that these clients are requiring. And then there's also many people just leaving the profession in general. So baby boomers are starting to retire, and then analysts are suggesting that about 75% of the accounting profession will exit the profession within the next 15 years, either through retirement or just looking for something else. And then there is also a lack of diversity in the accounting profession. There's not as many women in the profession. There's not as many people of minority groups. And then the lack of student enrollment. So there's about a 7% drop among undergraduate programs and an 11% drop among graduate programs. So there's just not as many students going into accounting, which could also be a result of the credit hour requirement. So to sit for the CPA exam, you actually need 150 credit hours instead of the standard 120. So a lot of students are looking for other programs within their business departments like finance or management because they don't require as many credits to get your bachelor's. And then there has also been a huge push for other career areas like STEM professions, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we're seeing a lot of students go to other careers just because STEM is a lot more publicized. They have a lot more funding to reach a lot more students than accounting has by itself. So then, because of the accounting pipeline problem, state and national proposals have been suggested to fix the pipeline. So one of the suggestions is a 2-step certification model. So the first certification would be the equivalent of a 2-year degree. So it'd be like an associate's in public accounting. And then the second step would be the equivalent of a 4-year degree. So it would be called a paraprofessional in public accounting. And then there's also work for credit, so allowing students to pursue an internship that is paid, that also gives them credits towards graduation to get them out the door into the profession a lot sooner. And then there's the 3 paths to licensure model that was introduced in Minnesota. So with that model, the first path is 150 credit hours plus 1 year of work experience, which is actually the current requirement to sit for the CPA exam. The second pathway is 120 credit hours and 2 years of work experience. And then the third pathway is 120 credit hours plus 1 year of work experience and 120 continuing professional education credits earned at the same time. But that pathway opportunity is also raising questions with the Uniform Accountancy Act model, because the Uniform Accountancy Act model is trying to equalize the workforce across all states, making all the requirements the same. So for example, in Nebraska, to sit for the CPA exam, you have to have 150 credit hours, but in Iowa, you only need 120. And then in Nebraska, you need 30 of those credits to be upper level accounting, and in Iowa, you only need 24. So we're seeing a lot of those people who are wanting to sit for the CPA exam move to other states because the requirements to obtain their CPA are a lot less stringent than they are here in Nebraska. And then the last thing is increasing dual enrollment in high school, allowing those students to get those credits at a cheaper price before they come to college to know if they actually like accounting and also to get that earlier exposure. So again, some emerging concerns within the accounting profession. There's decreased enrollment in post-secondary education programs. The baby boomers are retiring at record rates. We're seeing diversity as low in the accounting profession. The credit hour requirements are obviously higher to receive your bachelor's to sit for the CPA exam than there are for other business majors, and then the push for STEM professions. So the reasoning behind my research is to elicit accounting professionals' perceptions regarding the strategies to attract individuals to the profession, recruit specifically into the area of public accounting, and then elicit strategies for accounting firms to retain those essential accounting professionals. So the reasoning behind why I did qualitative research instead of quantitative, it was more appropriate for the exploratory nature of my research. I picked my participants based off of their professional experience, their certifications, and their reputation. And then I also asked open-ended questions during my interviews to allow the participants to expand on their ideas and hopefully bring new ideas to the table. So the professionals that I interviewed, we sent letters to 12 participants, but we only got 8 that actually wanted to participate. So all the participants had their CPA certification before the interview process, and they either resided in urban or rural areas, and not all were currently in the accounting profession at the time of the interview. So the first participant was the founder of an innovative consulting firm that focuses on small business growth and development. The second participant was currently in the accounting profession, specializing in compliance and tax planning. The third one was not necessarily in the accounting profession, but they were practicing accounting in the renewable energy industry. The fourth participant was currently in the accounting profession, specializing in audits. The fifth and sixth participants were both currently in the accounting profession, specializing in compliance, audits, and small business accounting. The seventh participant was actually the municipality finance director for a municipality here in Nebraska. And then the last one was currently in the profession, specializing in compliance and consulting. So the procedures for my research started with the selection of my individuals. After I selected my individuals, I created my survey statements, and then I sent my proposal to the institutional review board here on campus to get approval for human research. And after my approval, I wrote and delivered my consent letters, and then I received those back, and then I scheduled, conducted, recorded, and transcribed those interviews, and then finally I analyzed my results. So jumping into my results here, statement 1 that I posed to my participants was higher level accounting jobs are harder to fill after the COVID-19 pandemic. And participants generally agreed with this statement, noting that many businesses were focusing on getting advice from their accountants because the accountants have the expertise, they know how to navigate the different problems that would come along with COVID, and then also the terms of the COVID programs to make sure that they're following and meeting all those requirements. Some other perspectives is they actually saw the lower level jobs as being harder to fill because the supply is not as great as the demand. And then interestingly, another perspective was that it was difficult before COVID and it's just as difficult after. It's not trending in a different way, it just continues to be difficult. The second statement that I posed was the shortage of talents has caused accounting firms to turn away client engagements. And participants were generally neutral on this statement, noting that they weren't necessarily turning away client engagements, they were just being more selective with the clients that they are picking. They don't have the workforce to meet everybody's needs, So they're picking the ones that bring the most to the table. Other perspectives is that the industry is going to move on regardless of if we can keep up. So if people are leaving, it's just going to get stacked on the ones that are still there. And then another perspective was that they intentionally have not added any engagements because they know they can't handle it. They don't want to make their workforce work any harder than they already are and put that additional stress on those people. The third statement that I posed was because of automation and artificial intelligence, the need for entry-level accountants has significantly decreased. And participants strongly disagreed with this statement. AI is just giving us an opportunity to look at how to do things differently. Automation is taking out the more routine, mundane tasks, opening up our accountants to jump into more challenging work sooner in their careers. And then another perspective, automation and artificial intelligence, advanced software are important, but they don't do anything without the people there to run the software. We need those entry-level staff to be able to do the basic work, to learn, to advance, so that they can do that higher level accounting work sooner in their careers as well, and that it won't have a bearing on the future of needing entry-level accountants. The fourth statement that I posed was allowing more work from home opportunities would attract younger individuals to the profession, and participants generally were neutral on this statement, noting that the accounting profession is a people business with the people that we hire and the clients that we work with, and it's kind of hard to do that from home. People may like to work from home, but what this firm in particular was seeing that their highest performing employees wanted to be in the office. They didn't want to work from home. And then this perspective was that people who should get to work from home are those that already have the experience. Those that are new to the field should not get to work from home. They don't have that experience. They don't know how to network or communicate. So being in person allows them the opportunity to properly learn how to do their jobs, how to network with their peers, and just be visible to those that are in the company, especially like the ones higher up, that will get you those promotions. The fifth statement that I posed was the lack of work-life balance during busy season deters younger professionals from pursuing an accounting career, as well as sticking with the profession. And participants generally agreed with this statement, noting that as generations get younger, they don't want to work all the time. They're focusing more on life than on work, and they want 4 seasons like the rest of the world instead of 5. The sixth statement that I posed was to help bridge the gap of accountants. Students should be permitted to work for credit hours through a paid cooperative education program, allowing them to sit for the CPA exam sooner. Participants generally strongly agreed with this statement, noting that students already have to pay for the extra credits if they want to sit for the CPA exam, so why not let them get those credits through experience rather than taking classes that don't even apply to their major. And then another perspective was that the book is just as important as experience, so why not let them apply the knowledge that they have learned through their classes and through the books to real life situations. And then this perspective was that this individual, all they got out of formal education classes was how to take the CPA exam. They didn't learn how to do their job, but what helped them do their job was the actual experience that they gained through working with those accountants and learning how they do their jobs, and that the education system needs to learn how to balance the education that we are giving our kids with the education that they need to pass the CPA exam and then ultimately to do their job. The seventh statement that I posed was implementing alternative CPA pathway opportunities is an effective process to fill the pipeline quickly. Participants were generally neutral on this statement, and during my interviews, I gave them the example of the Minnesota model. So again, the Minnesota model, the 3 paths to licensure, the 150 credit hours plus 1 year of work experience, that is the current requirement, the 120 credit hours plus 2 years of work experience, and then the 120 credit hours plus 1 year work experience and 120 continuing professional education credits earned concurrently. So what the participants had to say is we have to be careful with how we fill the pipeline. As long as we aren't downgrading the standards on the testing itself, this participant didn't see a problem with that. But another participant said that everyone should follow the same path, be expected to meet the same requirements, and use the same process to get there. And then it's not about how quickly we get there, it's about finding those people that can fill those positions, those people that have the people skills balanced with the attention to detail skills that it takes to be an accountant. The more that we make the career interesting, we'll get those people in faster than making alternative pathways. The eighth statement that I posed is recognizing accounting as STEM would attract more individuals to the profession. And again, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Participants generally agreed with this statement. They said that it opens up the profession to something that students are looking at a lot earlier than they would before, because you don't really know what makes up a profession unless you have a parent or a close friend's parent in the profession. So allowing that earlier exposure to those students would benefit the accounting profession greatly. And then other perspectives, it's not about what you call it, but it's about educating people on the opportunities that you have with a career in accounting. And then accounting in general should be the base fundamental for you going through life. It needs to be a part of STEM to teach financial and fiscal responsibilities, and it's a lack on our part by not having it in STEM. The ninth statement that I posed was more diverse leaders are essential to the retention and development of the next generation of accounting professionals. Participants were generally strongly agreed with this statement, noting that we do need more women, we need more ethnicity, we need to show that anyone can do it, and that it really takes an effort to make a CPA firm work. To get those different perspectives allows us to look at things differently and be aware of what's out there in the profession. And then an opposing perspective was that they don't look for people just because they want diversity. They want the people who know how to do the jobs and have the work ethic and intellect to fill those positions. But smaller firms don't have the luxury of complete diversity. Just because we're in the Midwest, we don't have very much to choose from. But they're at least aware that we need diversity in our accounting firms. And then I was excited to see that to hear that this participant actually sees diversity in their accounting firm. They see people working together, working moms, working dads, people of different cultures, abilities, all working together and learning from each other. And then my 10th and final statement that I posed was college students do not perceive accountants as making a real difference in society. And participants generally agreed with this statement. The students don't really understand what makes up a profession. They don't know what value it brings to the people in general, but we are the first professionals that they come to when they have questions, because they expect us to know or to lead them in the right direction. And then we make a difference, but it's not as widely known as we would think. It's more of a career and it adds a lot of value to society, in that you know you're making a difference when people come to you with questions or before they're making big decisions. And then I'm just going to leave off my research with, I think the general perception of accountants is that we are nerds. It was that way 10 years ago, and it is still that way. So some findings through my research, there's a high need for accountants on all levels, whether that's entry-level accountants or higher-level accountants. There's a shortage on both spectrums. Younger individuals value work-life balance. They don't want the 50, 60, 70-hour work weeks during tax season. They want the 40-hour work weeks, especially when they have young families to go home to. And then there was a strong opinion from the people that I interviewed that programs need to be implemented to get those students into the profession sooner, learning about the opportunities that we have to offer. And then lastly, diversity is highly valued in all firms, but unfortunately there is a lack of diversity in the Midwest. And then my final recommendations to fix the pipeline. My first recommendation is requiring all accounting students to have an internship. It gets you in the profession earlier, lets you network with employers, lets you use the knowledge that you learn in class to actually apply it to real life situations, but it also helps accounting firms because then they get those additional resources in the times that they need them most. My second recommendation is extending the CPA window from 18 months to 30 months. In Nebraska, you have to have 2 years of work experience for licensure, so students are often working full-time trying to reach the hour requirements that they need to get those 2 years of work experience. So they're also working full-time trying to study for the CPA exam. So if we expand the window, it gives them a longer time to prepare, as well as reduces the amount of accelerated studying they would have to do during that time. Another recommendation is providing learning opportunities for younger students, getting those students onto our campus, getting them learning about the accounting profession, creating a positive awareness of the profession, as well as implementing accounting classes even younger than college, high school, getting students learning about accounting, offering dual credit so that they can earn those credits before they come to college, so they can kind of know what they are looking forward to when they do go to college. And then aligning state requirements to licensure to provide uniformity. So like the Nebraska-Iowa example, we're losing people to Iowa because their requirements are much less than they are in Nebraska. So reducing or making all states have the same requirements would reduce confusion if you're moving across state lines. It would stabilize the workforce so that not all people are in one state or the other. And then it also would reduce the possibility of brain drain. And then my fifth recommendation is ultimately categorizing accounting as a STEM profession. STEM receives so much funding, so getting accounting into STEM will get us out there, getting kids learning about accounting sooner, providing employers with a more diverse workforce, and then essentially expanding education and other professional opportunities for our accounting students. And then my last recommendation is allowing candidates to sit for the CPA exam after completion of 120 credit hours in Nebraska, contingent upon receiving the 150 credit hours. Ultimately, allowing students to take the exam while they're still in college would let them use the knowledge that they had in classes sooner. It would reduce the amount of studying that they would have ultimately because they have that knowledge still from their accounting classes that they've previously taken. And then it encourages quicker entrance into the profession because then they wouldn't have to wait the 18 months to take the exam and then finally get those all passed before they can actually get licensed. So that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
What attracted you to the accounting profession? I wanted to major in it.
High school accounting class. I would say my high school accounting professor and then Dr. Garvin. Because I came into Wayne State as an education major. I can clearly see that that didn't work. But I went and talked to Dr. Garvin and yeah. Yeah. Yes.
What are your career aspirations related to accounting?
So I want to go into the public sector, at least so I can get my CPA license, get the experience. Hopefully become a partner someday, but I don't know, with the amount of work that public accounting has right now, I may go into private, but for right now, public, yeah, a public CPA.
Tell them where you've been working. You know, you've done some things during your college or so.
Yeah, so last tax season I went to Hendris Connor Williams in Dakota Dunes. I did a tax season internship, and then I stayed with them over the summer to learn more about auditing, 401k audits, various different things, journal entries, cookbooks, those type of things. And then starting in January, I will be at McMill in Norfolk for a tax season internship. And then I'm still looking for a full-time position